Hello, fellow board game designers. John Garcia here with Kickstarter Coach. I want to welcome you to the KickstarterCoach.com website and to our new podcast. We are very excited about putting this together, reaching out to some really great people in the industry, publishers. I'm not giving any names yet, but reviewers, designers, just a really, bunch of great people in the biz that are going to tell you what they look for in a successful Kickstarter campaign and maybe share their experiences of what they've done as far as crowdfunding itself. If you don't know me, I am, along with my son, the designer of the Table Golf Association. And proud to say that we had a campaign in 2022 that raised $200,000, basically 158,000 through pledges, and then through add-ons and all the other good stuff that happens in Kickstarter plus distributors. We raised $200,000. And last year, we launched the family edition, which is basically the cardboard tile version of the TGA. The original was made out of wood, but we needed to bring the price point down for retail purposes. So a lot of good stuff going on, information, feedback, working with retail consultants. And now our game is actually, in addition to board game stores, it's in 60 of the PGA Tour superstores. This is a national chain that sells golf apparel, golf items, sporting goods. So we've crossed over into sporting goods, something that I had hoped, would happen, and we worked hard to happen, and lessons that we're going to be sharing as well. So I thought, as we also are ramping up now the podcast for Kickstarter Coach, I'm reaching out to some great people, publishers. Everybody wants to hear from publishers, other board game designers, illustrators. We're even going to speak to some super backers, because what's better to, whose brain is better to pick than the people that are pledging, all the time, and really what are they looking for in games. So I'm excited to share that. And what I decided was I'm going to start this new series within the podcast called Follow My Journey, because right now, as I'm recording this, we're in the middle of January, and in late March, probably mid-April, we're going to launch the new version of the TGA called Meeple Beach. Super excited about this. As a golf fan myself, Pebble Beach is something that's like iconic, and a lot of golfers, even though it's a public course, never get to play. So, that inspiration inspired me to create the Meeple Beach edition. And funny story, we were at a convention, I think it was Dice Tower East, and I'm explaining to people, the idea for this. And one guy just said, because so we reached out already to Pebble Beach, and we're trying to get the game licensed, and we got to maybe second or third base with them. Things were moving along. I was excited about the possibility of making that happen, and it didn't happen. Maybe a little early in the game, if you will, but we still have that on our radar. It's still something that we believe the TGA can be licensed by golf courses and branded by golf courses. And imagine you go to Pebble Beach and there's the Pebble Beach tabletop version of Pebble Beach, right? You want to take it home with you. So anyway, they rejected us, and that's part of success. You're going to get rejected plenty of times along the way. It's part of my journey. It's part of this podcast. And so, take it in stride and just keep on going. And I'm explaining the story to someone at the Dice Tower con in Orlando, Dice Tower East, and he says, "Why not call it Maple Beach?" Like nothing, just shrugs his shoulder, walks away. Just call it Maple Beach. And I was like, "Wow, you know, it's amazing the way things happen, and just they like Michael Jordan's quote is the reason he was as good as he was is just to be coachable. He was coachable. That's his greatest skill. Not dribbling, not shooting, not defense, but being coachable. And when I hear comments from people, all the time, I'm coachable. I'm just, being a coach, I know that to be influenced and to get better, you have to be coachable. So he said it, I wrote it down, and I just haven't stopped since. With like Meeple Beach is the right thing to do. And I'm going to start this well, we're starting this podcast now, but we're already probably a year, not a year, maybe good 8 months into the development of Meeple Beach. So the rule book is done, and everything is done, except for I'm adding a new thing with this game, a video rule book. So we did tease it a little bit in the initial version. We had 4 videos linked with a QR code from the rule book. And this time we're just going to make it a little more user friendly, and the videos are going to be better, because those other videos were just not what they needed to be. So I will be catching you up onto this, point in the journey so far because a lot has happened. Now, this is my third Kickstarter, so there's definitely a lot of things, that I don't obviously am not doing for the first time anymore. And I understand the timeline and I understand, every little thing that needs to happen from here to launch. So we're really, we just ordered the promos because China has a thing called the Chinese New Year, which they basically close shop as a country for weeks. And so you don't want to be caught in the middle of that with something new. So we put in our order knowing that we'll get it before they break for the Chinese New Year. And that's important because we need reviewers to have it at least a month before you launch. It's super important to get it in their hands because they're busy. They're getting a lot of games from a lot of people. There's an oversaturation of games right now. A lot of reviewers, just have more games than they can handle. So it is important to get this done now. So, some of these podcast episodes, I'll be catching you up on things that, that have already been accomplished and how we did it, and share some screens. If you watch it on the video, you can definitely see some of it. But either way, I'll be explaining it, thoroughly through audio so that you can, understand what's going on. But so yeah, so this is going to be Follow My Journey. This is just kind of the introductory episode, if you will. I definitely encourage people to, in their comments, kind of ask questions of things that they want to learn. Maybe you've tried a Kickstarter in the past and a certain thing really you felt held you up, or you're planning to launch one and there's certain things you really want me to address in the podcast. I think we'll probably cover most of it anyway, but if you have a specific question, feel free to ask it. And definitely if I cover something in the episode and you want more explanation, you can ask it. This is part of my kickstartercoach.com service. So obviously, if you want more detailed feedback one-on-one, we are offering right now an absolutely free 1 hour consultation on the website. You just click on Kickstarter preparedness call. That's $150 value. I mean, I've seen other coaches charge, more than that, but we're just getting that launch as well. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, that's another thing that you could just reach out to us. You can email me at tablegolfassociation@gmail.com. We'll be setting up a separate email for Kickstarter probably as well, Kickstarter coach as well. But yeah, let me know. We'll put a form up and you could reach out to us, let us know kind of like, where you're at, what you're working on, and why, you'd like to be on the show. It's really about, I heard something the other day on another podcast, and it was a big board game company. And, you know, I have to be careful because as a board game designer, I would love to work with a big board game company and I would love to have a game picked up by a big board game company. But I'll say this, I think big board game companies are changing the landscape of Kickstarter in not a good way. I understand that, board games and super backers want to get their games. And if they can get it through Kickstarter, fine. But what's happening is the Kickstarter is the same Kickstarter that me as a first-time board game designer is participating in as Asmodee and just giant established board game companies and established board game designers that are obviously going to get the bulk of the pledges. When Disney's on there or Star Wars is on, I mean, they're just going to attract the bulk of the attention and also get the bulk of the pledges. So it makes it obviously a lot harder for smaller designers and up and coming designers and new designers. If you average out the number of games on Kickstarter since they started, it's somewhere around 250 a month. But when I was on there, or when now it's 400 to 500 a month. So it's ramped up considerably. I would say there's definitely an oversaturation of board games because, this just runs the whole gamut from something epic and super involved and well developed to something that's, print and play that is nothing, that's still an amazing kind of up and coming genre as well, but doesn't take all of the logistics and all the effort and all the other stuff of a of a commercial goods kind of board game. So all that to say, the landscape is changing. It gets much more difficult. I did some studies too on Kickstarter. There's been about 40, a little over 40,000 games that have been backed. And of those that are backed, about 42% raised between $1,000 and $10,000. So, I mean, that's almost half. That's not a lot of money. um, a lot of campaigns, reach their funding goal and underestimate their costs. And even though they succeed in funding goals, they fail in actually being profitable. And that's why you see only a lot of games just kind of one and done. And only 8% in the history of Kickstarter have ever raised over $100,000. I don't know the stat of a first-time board game designer doing that, but I'm pretty sure it's a small list. So again, it's it's humbling. It's so gratifying to be here now for the third time. And so we're gonna peel back the layers and open the blinds here and just show you kind of like what I'm doing and what it's what me and Gavin are doing. And how we're planning now for this next Kickstarter. And so, without further ado, I'm going to end this this episode today with I'm going to share my screen and just show you the Kickstarter page. So today I just finished the Kickstarter, draft, right? So now I know like you need to have a very good draft, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be when you launch. So this draft doesn't have a video. It doesn't have any really fleshed out add-ons or fleshed out stretch goals or anything like that. It really, because this is my third time, Kickstarter obviously knows me. They have a relationship to a certain degree. They know what I've done in the past. So it's a lot easier, for me right now. But still, maybe you haven't seen a Kickstarter page, so I'll just share with you. So they ask you to kind of start with the basics, then you get to rewards, then you add your story. People is whoever's kind of working on it. Payment, obviously your bank, Stripe, tying your information in, and then once it's all approved, this the promotion button, which basically is the link so that you can people can start following your page and being notified, excuse me, on the launch. So, basic details, game, a little subtitle, the categories are dropped down. So this I did put in here already. So, welcome to Maple Beach, everyone's favorite oceanside golf course. Now, this little graphic right here is the thumbnail that people will see in the Kickstarter page when they do searches, and this is kind of like what pops up. So, do I think this is going to attract people's attention? It looks a little bit, to me, a little too geometrical, and it doesn't, if it was my first time, I definitely would be a little bit more concerned. Having the third time is an advantage, but we still have to bring new people into the campaign. We cannot rely on previous backers. Some of them, a lot of them love the game. We have 4.9 star out of 5-star ratings on our website. A lot of them are looking forward to this. But regardless, things change, people change, interests change all the time. So we do have to come up with a graphic that we feel is strong enough that when people do searches or come across it, that graphic has to pull you in. That thumbnail has to pull you in. Super important. So right now, that's what we have as a kind of a placeholder, and we'll see. And I'll, love to get feedback on that as well. Once you have your video ready, you drop it in here. Video, obviously super important. Those are the things, the first two things that people see is the thumbnail. You click on it, and then it's the video. So we'll have that going. Your funding goal, you're going to put an amount here. So you know what? I missed this. So our funding goal is 20,000. And I'm going to explain a little bit more into detail how you come up with that's not an arbitrary number. Obviously, now, again, this is our third time. So I know all my costs. I know my shipping. I know my landing price inside and out. I know that yesterday I was in the post office sending a game to Chile because of some issues that we had. And it was $92. And I know I did not collect $92 of the pledge manager to send that. And then I had another game to Chile as well. So hidden costs will bite you in the butt real fast, and you have to, understand that this number is not arbitrary, and that there's a certain amount of money that you have to pad in there for unexpected circumstances. Right now, I have April 16th as the date, and we want to run the campaign for 30 days. So I'm going to save it because I didn't have the funding goal in there. Next is the rewards. This is basically just the basic elements of the reward. So right now at $45, we're going to offer the Maple Beach family edition, which is about $10 lower than retail. So we do want to give everyone a reward here for pledging, and that reward is it's going to be $10 lower than retail if you can find it at retail, right? We're a small publisher. Our games get into very limited, amount of stores, and the odds are it's very difficult to find. So if you're gonna get it now early, you get it for less. So the family edition is 45, and the wooden edition, which retails for 85, is $75. So right now, that's all I've set up. I put up kind of a placeholder picture here as well. So just for Kickstarter, basically to review it and to be able to approve it. Next is the story. I did go into a little more detail here so far, even though it's kind of the first draft. But I spoke a little bit about what we've done in the past, right? We want to have that credibility. People who are pledgers of the TGA already know that we've come through, really close to our timelines, really close to all the shipping. I mean, we've done, I think, and I know because I've gotten the feedback, a really good job of keeping our promises and being transparent. I definitely have made mistakes along the way, but I'm upfront about it. I reply. I'm always engaged. And my point before about a large board game company using Kickstarter is, I think they're hurting the community overall. But the gentleman made a point that yes, you're selling games and raising funds, but it's really about customer service. It's really about relationships and being transparent on Kickstarter with backers, man. They take that seriously, and, rightly so. They're giving their money to something that's not proven yet. And because of this, a guy like me is able to, have a dream come true, get a game from idea to execution. I laugh because it's a book that a friend of mine's working on. That's the name of it. But idea to execution and getting it into stores. So um here's our page so far right now. We talk a little bit about the past to get that credibility. When new people come in, they'll see, hey, you know what? We launched in 22, had 1,100 backers, and we had pledges of over 158,000 to bring it to life. Since then, we've released the European expansion, the driving ranges expansion, the stretch goal tile expansion, the 25 tile bonus pack, the family edition, and then we also introduced the family edition big box with all the expansions. So, it talks about our successes. So someone feels good about being a part of this, being a part of this community. It's not something they're necessarily taking a risk on. And then we talk about the new game. So now we introduce that what could be the most beautiful and challenging course yet, the Meeple Beach Edition, inspired by beautiful oceanside golf courses around the world, like the iconic Pebble Beach. This is a complete standalone game that comes with 28 double-sided terrain tiles in both the Pro and Family editions. The difference in me explaining this as as just a list of things that we've done and what we're doing and telling a story is huge. And as a marketer for 20 plus years and a copywriter, it's all about the story. So it starts off a little bit kind of matter of factly, but then I start weaving, the imagination. It's beautiful and a challenging course. It's inspired by beautiful oceanside golf courses around the world, like the iconic Pebble Beach. So we want to put this imagery, and anyone who's played golf or, just casually even knows golf knows about Pebble Beach. It's just a famous course, around the world. It has new terrain tiles and includes an all new mechanic that uses 3D trees on the course. We love this new mechanic and believe you will too, since essentially you asked for it. Almost every time we demo the TGA, someone suggests we put in physical obstacles, but we never wanted to create a miniature golf game. Our goal has always been to create a fun and challenging game that replicates all the nuances of real golf. To add obstacles randomly would defeat the approach we took to develop the game. In golf, the ball flies through the air, usually, LOL. It's not rolling on the ground from tee to green. So in the TGA, the only terrain that affects your next shot is where the ball lands or stops. Keeping with this approach, we've been able to incorporate trees into the game, and we think it adds a great new and realistic dimension to the TGA. Gavin was the mastermind behind this mechanic, and it was based on the feedback we received. So now we talk about the new game, and we just give you a couple little hints. I haven't gone into like too much detail, but just to spark a little more interest, and also to let you know that we listened. We listened to backers, we listened to people that got the game, we listened to people in all of the events and cons that we went to. So it shows, we really care. We want to make something that people are relating to, they're engaging with, and that they appreciate that they've been heard. So we put that in there as well. And then kind of finishes, Not only that, but boy, is it pretty to look at. The beautiful ocean tiles illustrated by Rob Terrell are not only wonderful to look at, but terrifying at the same time. The yellow, dry rough gives you the feel of wind-blown grass that is also more difficult to hit, sorry, to hit out of. The two new holes have undulating greens with massive ridges to contend with. There is also a new weather dye that adds a gale force wind. As you might expect, playing next to the ocean will often mean dealing with windy weather. It's all there for you to have a wonderful day playing golf on a beautiful oceanside course. We hope to see you soon at Maple Beach. So while this is really, a good start, this will be massaged a little bit. And I could take this and kind of reword some things and enhance it. But obviously you need the flair, you need the gift of gab a little bit here. You want to embellish a little bit here, so that the imagination gets going and people are engaged and they kind of lean in after they read this. You don't want, they may not read through the whole thing, and that's fine, but you want to have it there for the people that do. So risks and challenges, for us, this is our third TGA Kickstarter. So we do have a huge advantage in knowing exactly how everything works. We're obviously really confident with the timeline and the cost and all that other kind of stuff. So for us, there's not a lot of risks and challenges. I could tell you as a first-time board game designer, you really want to address this and eliminate as many risks and challenges as possible. And the only way you can do that is you have a fully polished manufactured prototype, fully play tested, the rules at that 99.9%. If you think you're going to just get away with, pretty graphics and images without videos of people playing this game and videos of reviewers and their feedback, you will not have a very good chance of success. There's just too many polished Kickstarters out there that already have that. So take that into consideration. Anything else to give you here is environmental commitments. Did you use AI? No. I'm not 100% opposed, to AI. I know it's a controversial topic, but I think you have to understand it's a tool and it's a resource. If I took what I wrote here and threw it into AI and said, how does this wording, how do you feel this wording appeals to someone who doesn't know golf, right? It may give me a whole new thing. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with using AI. You have to kind of pick your battles there. And I do definitely think if you're just leaning on AI to do all your artwork and stuff, you'll right now it won't do the job of working with a professional. I'll leave it at that. You could add some FAQs here. I didn't. Introduce yourself. You have a little profile. This thing, you could have your own vanity URL. Since we are again coming back for our third campaign, ours is already established. I could add collaborators here. I could add other demographics here. So if you're not watching this, we're just scrolling through the Kickstarter campaign setup page and just walking through what what you have to fill out. The bank details, we're gonna skip that. But basically you have to link your account, you have to link your routing number, you have to link a credit card. You do have to have a Stripe account. So certain things that, you're going to need for the first time, it takes some time to set all that up. So just that part alone could take, some time. So you want to give yourself time for that, obviously. And then, once it's approved, you can generate the URL basically for the landing page. That won't happen until obviously it's approved. And then you can also, you could add some pixels here for tracking on Google, on Facebook, or Meta, and which are all very important to have so you can see what's working and what's not working. And I'll show you how that works as well. So there you go. It's really not a lot to it. A few pages. Obviously, that's just a draft for Kickstarter to approve it. You do have to have enough in there so that, there's not a lot of guesswork. You want to give them enough so that they obviously approve it. But now, once I do get it approved, we'll add, what we're going to do with stretch goals, what we're going to do with maybe some offers, what we're going to do with a different, pledges. And I'll walk you through that as well. So hope you enjoyed today. It's really going to be an exciting, really, we hope to do this every week and just kind of, go over the tasks that we've completed and then what we're looking to complete in the following week. And again, your feedback is always welcome. Your questions are always welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's kind of first introductory episode of Follow My Journey. Until next time, guys, happy designing. See ya.